Pretty amazing that you can have a game like we had last night, and I've spent this much time already without getting to it. So let's get to it. Years from now, when we look back on Game 5 of Bucks Nets, you're probably going to remember one thing. Kevin Durant. Kevin Wayne Durant. Kevin, because he turned in one of the biggest games you're ever going to see in your life. It's not exaggeration. That's not hyperbole. That was an all-time great performance by an all-time great player. I tweeted it last night. Name a better player in the world right now than KD. A series tied at 2. Missing one co-star in Kyrie Irving. The other co-star, James Harden, out there on a bad leg. Really not contributing much of anything at all. And yet Kevin Durant turns in a freaking masterpiece. A game for the ages. 49, 17, and 10 in 48 minutes. Fact of the matter is, the numbers don't even do it justice. Not even close. You had to see it. You had to see it, and you had to witness it. And if you didn't, and you love the game, then I suggest you go back and watch it. I'm not sure how, if you love the game, you could have missed it. But if for some reason you did, go back and watch it. Even if you know the result, you want to go back and watch it. Watching it live, you knew the result. You know what I'm saying? There was no game no way he was going to lose that game. Just like there was no way the Bucks were going to win that game. More on that truly catastrophic performance by Milwaukee in a moment. But back to Durant. He was possessed. He was obsessed. He was relentless. He was in the kill zone. Whatever description you want to use, he was that and more. This guy absolutely torched everybody. And when he wasn't humiliating a defender, he was setting up a teammate, or he was leading the defense at the other end. He was sharing the court with a 2-time MVP and multiple All-Stars, and none of those guys were even in the same galaxy. And back to whether or not he's the best player in the world. Hey, look, if you don't give a damn about my opinion, that's fine. Never mind that generally I'm right. But that's fine. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of a 2-time MVP. Because after the game, Giannis himself said, quote, he's the best player in the world right now, end quote. Well, I do know that, G. Because I just saw him drag his team back from down 16 at halftime in a must-win game. And remember, we're just 2 years removed from this guy shredding his Achilles, an injury that ends careers. Guys are never the same after an Achilles, except last night he was. No, he was actually better. He was getting warm late in the third and then into the fourth. It didn't matter who was on this guy because he got warm and then he got going and he got rolling. So James Harden ate up most of the shot clock, got himself into a jam, just kind of flung it at Durant with less than 3 left on the shot clock, like, hey, yo, bail my ass out. You do this. And, of course, Durant did. Most mortals have no right to even take that shot, let alone make that shot, and he did both. And his peers were watching. No less an alpha than LeBron tweeted, quote, greatness. Appreciate it while you can, people. Hashtag KD. Jamal Crawford threw it back to the lockout days. Quote, KD is at the rucker right now. LOL. End of quote. Man, that is the truth. That looked like Kevin Durant was just playing against some randos at the park. And that brings me to the other part of last night, because as great as Kevin Durant was, and he was, the Milwaukee Bucks were just that bad. Man, they were awful. They were playing a team that was missing Kyrie Irving and had only part of James Harden on the floor. If ever there was a team that you should choke out and kill, it was that Nets team. James Harden was not ready. Credit for trying, but he couldn't go. He was struggling just to move. Couldn't get into the paint at all on offense. Couldn't hit a shot to save his life, and he sure as hell was not going to bother anybody defensively. Yet somehow he's still out there on the floor. How this guy was able to gut out 46 minutes, I have no idea. But I got a better question. How the hell did the Bucks even allow that? To quote the legendary Bob in L.A., how the hell did they not run his ass right off the floor? Not only that, but how did the Bucks allow Jeff Green to go off the way Jeff Green did? Look, I'm not going to kill them for not putting Giannis on KD in the second half, although a lot of people are. I'm not going to kill them for that. Like, frankly, to me, that's not even his game. He's not an elite perimeter defender. He's an elite help defender. And yes, I know he's the defensive player of the year. But just because you won that award does not mean you're a lockdown defender. Dikembe Mutombo won the award 4 times. You would not put him on KD last night. You wouldn't put Marc Gasol on him. I mean, I can go on and on. But here's the thing about Durant. It almost doesn't even matter. In fact, it doesn't matter. You weren't going to stop this guy. You could have put Dennis Rodman and Michael Jordan on Durant last night, and he was still going to get his. He was that locked in. That was an all-time great, having an all-time great night. When he's going like that, the way you beat him is you get the ball out of his hands as much as you possibly can, and then you outscore him. And you sure as hell do not let Jeff Green go 8 for 11 from the field and 7 of 8 from deep. You can live with Durant going for 49. I mean, that's going to happen. But what you can't live with is Green going for 27 as well. I mean, how do you let Jeff Green let you up like that? Don't get me wrong. I really admire Uncle Jeff's courage and his grit and what he brings to a team. But are you kidding me? He's Jeff Green. He's coming off a foot injury, yet you made this guy look like Ray Allen. And that's the other side of this game. As transcendent as the Nets were, the Bucks, man, they were that infuriating. Like, I don't let it get personal because I don't care. I don't root. I don't have favorite teams. I don't have teams that I root against. Honestly, I do not care. Yet watching that, I'll own this. I will. The Bucks literally had me pissed. Literally. And again, I don't care who wins. I don't have a dog in that fight. I really don't care about the scoreboard in that regard. Only that I've got something to talk about, and the Bucks blowing that 16-point halftime lead when they should have blown them out completely is giving me a lot to talk about. They should have run them right out of the gym. To quote, I don't know, Bob in L.A., run their ass. They should have snatched their souls and essentially finished them last night. And it was right there for the taking. But the Bucks couldn't do it. They never can. They don't have that killer instinct. They don't finish. They stop attacking. They take their foot off the gas. They start spinning clock. And then they hope to hold on. Like, compare and contrast that with Durant. Or even compare and contrast that with, say, the Suns. How they finished the Lakers and the Nuggets. Hell, Chris Paul, he'll stab you in the heart and then he'll twist it. You got to be ruthless, and he is. And the Bucks aren't. And more on Paul a little bit later on. Look, I can't believe I'm about to do this. I can't believe that I would ever criticize a player who went 34-12 in a big game. But that was not the Freak's best night. Not even close. Great player. By all accounts, great dude. But he looked absolutely lost late in that game. And there are going to be 2 plays that are going to stay with this guy and haunt that guy for a long time. There was that play where he had James Harden posted up. I understand that James Harden is an underrated post defender. I'll tell you what else I understand about James Harden. Dude's out here playing on one leg. And you're the Freak. You can't be taking a fadeaway J in that situation. You just can't. It's not just about scoring there. It's about declaring intent, imposing your will, attacking. It's about being pissed off. Literally, it's about being pissed off that Harden waved off help and said, I got this. I can handle this myself. James Harden is out here on one leg saying, I've got the 2-time MVP. This dude had so much tape on his leg, I couldn't tell if his leg was taped up or taped on. And he thinks he can stop Giannis one-on-one in the post. Like, how insulting is that? And why am I more insulted by that than Giannis? And the worst part is, the beard was right. Because the Freak went with a fadeaway and he missed. Unfortunately, that ball hit Giannis in the worst possible place. His hands. Hey, look, I know that kind of thing will happen. Moments like that are going to happen. But it can't happen in that moment if you're that guy. But it made sense, right? Because the Bucks look lost, as they often do at crunch time. They look like, how do I say this? They look like, well, deer in the headlights. Hey-oh! If James Kelly were here, he'd say they look like ass, total ass. Complaining about the officiating is such a bad look. How do you think the game was going to be officiated? You're on the road. The Nets were complaining that P.J. Tucker was too physical in Game 4. You know how that's going to go. The refs were not the ones who choked away a 17-point lead against a busted-up Nets team. You did. You didn't have to stop Durant. You had to stop Jeff Green. You didn't have to play a perfect game. You only had to hold on to a 17-point lead, and you couldn't do it. So, bottom line, credit to Durant for a transcendent game, and SMDH to the Bucks for an absolute implosion. A loss like that's going to leave a mark, a serious three-dimensional scar that you'll see in the mirror every single day. Milwaukee better win the next two, not just to keep their season alive, but to avoid a tank job that could wreck careers and legacies and set a franchise back for years.